Bienvenidos, welcome to our first official interview for Radio Primavera Sound here from Primavera Sound 2024. We're in the forum. The festival has opened its doors just a few hours ago. People are coming in, looking fabulously. And what a first interview we have, a round table. One of the most privileged ones Ben and I have been honored to take part in. We have Hyperdub All-Stars here with us today. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yo, what's good? Primavera Sound, what's happening?
Yeah. Do I need to switch on my MC game? Come on, boy, big up here, Hyperdub MCs, DJs.
I'm going for no.
We might have espresso martinis.
I like it. It makes me feel at home.
Johan, I'm going to say welcome to you because...
Okay.
Espresso martinis just around the table.
Okay.
That'll get us going.
Johan, I feel like I'm also welcoming you because it's a line noise, which is something I do.
I know.
And it's good to have you here. So this is a special line noise as well with support Cupra. And Steve's been on before.
I have.
Yeah. Was that
last year?
Yeah.
Last year, wasn't it?
That was fabulous.
No, the year before.
The year before.
Well, let's do the proper introductions. The Hyperdub All-Stars. We have DJ Haram, Ikonika, Heavee, and Code 9 here with us. I mean, this is a star lineup. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us.
Of course.
Hi.
Sorry.
Here.
It's 20 years of Hyperdub. How on earth does that make you feel?
Old, obviously. Old. I'm very happy that we're 20 years old and there's a mixture of trying not to say old artists on the label, but veteran artists and artists that have signed with us recently. That's great. I mean, so it feels very fresh to be doing a 20th anniversary parties this year with very different lineups for every show.
Mm-hmm.
Hyperdub, it feels like kind of an obsession for you. Is that right?
A curse.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
That's how you feel?
Okay.
Damn.
That's how you
Calm
feel?
down.
These people are on your label. You can't say that.
It's a beautiful curse.
Right.
It's a beautiful curse. It's a labor of love. Any love-related thing is wonderful and tragic at the same time.
So I was going to say, Ikonika, you were the first person from here. Well, other than Steve, you're the first person on the label, right? Was it 2009?
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
And I think your first record under the Ikonika name was on Hyperdub, right?
Yeah, my debut was on Hyperdub back in 2008. A track called Please, and on the flip, Simulacrum. And yeah, that just seems like such a long time ago.
Had you been kicking around a while till you found a label that finally understood what you were all about musically?
Well, Code was the only one that replied to my messages.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. I'm in a way, but
We were last on our list.
no. There was a bidding war at one point, but
Because
I settled for Hyperdub.
you were a big fan of UK funky, right? And there was kind of a bit of that to Hyperdub.
Still am.
True. And but there was, and maybe still is, a bit of that to Hyperdub, right? They're kind of...
Yeah, I mean, from about 2009 onwards, there's for 3 or 4 years after 2009, and then sporadically, there's a thread of that sound that runs through the label. Coolie G, Ikonika, Scratcher, DVA, Ill Blue, Funky Steps, OK Sharp,
Even with
LV,
Fire Dread as well.
Fire Dread now. More recently, it's been mixed with bits of Amapiano, bass lines. So, but the thread is still there of that kind of percussive house music.
Yeah, I think it's our house music, especially from London. And, there's that thing where once you've found house, that's it, innit?
Or it's like the London version of African house music.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, what is London like nowadays? I haven't been clubbing in London for years now. I'm of a certain age. What is it still a vibrant scene, or is it getting a bit too corporate? Like clubs are shutting down. Is it still a good place to find new talent and for young DJs to find spaces to play stuff that's a bit more cutting edge?
I don't know really. I think there's lots of nice small venues, and that's where the vibe is.
Yeah, right.
A couple of 100 people, relaxed security. Go much bigger than that, and it feels like you're going in an airport with the securities. London, it's very over the top security. So my favorite places tend to be small.
Yeah.
Because Haram, you played this week, right?
I played last night.
Wow, a sort of live DJ set, kind of. How was it? Like,
it was good. It was live, I guess, somewhat of a hybrid because I did use DJ gear. But it was good. It was different than any other show I've really played in London because it was just myself and another live electronic act. Even when I've played before with 700 Bliss, my project Whitmore Mother, that's also on Hyperdub. It's been like amongst DJs. And even if it's not in a club, kind of more of a club vibe. So I thought it was cool. It felt way more like just interacting with, I wouldn't say necessarily like a community because I don't know the people there well enough to say that, but just more intimate. Kind of speaking to what Steve is saying, it felt like a nice connection versus like, a corporate sponsored event, which does happen to be the last time I was in London.
Heavy, I was reading, I think, that you were a big fan of Steve's book.
Period.
Yeah. What did you like about it?
Steve,
On the spot.
I'm not gonna make it seem like I read the book from front to back, but what it did do was offer me a perspective that music can have different purposes. It doesn't have to always be like I'm making music for someone's enjoyment. Sound serves a lot of different purposes. We hear ambulances and alarms like frequently, and we know those serve a specific like purpose. And just like thinking about that in the concept of my music, it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be like soft or soothing. It could be like texturally abrasive. It could like fuck you up. I don't know if I can say that.
Explain, it's fine.
It just opened my mind to like I can do more with my music. Yeah.
And Steve, I was going to say, like, what you've signed all of these people at some point. Again, without embarrassing, what do you look for in artists? I mean, maybe you can say, like, what kind of attracted you to each of their music?
I mean, obviously, stylistically, we're all very different, and that's really one of the main things that I find compelling. Like, someone's got their own style. They're not trying to copy anyone else. They're developing their own. They're learning on the go. They don't know where they're going. I don't know where they're going. I don't know where I'm going. And that's really exciting. A bunch of people diverging in that way. So that's pretty important for the label, I think.
Yeah.
Would you ever sign something you didn't personally like? I mean, like, if everyone else like kind of said, no, this is the kind of thing, this is perfect for Hyperdub, would you ever sign it, or is it no? It's got to be like you're the ultimate sort of taste, I suppose.
I don't think I've ever signed. There's the odd track I've looked back on and be like, like my own stuff, other people's stuff, but usually I have enough trust in all the artists that we work with that, not everything is perfect. I know that my taste changes on a day-to-day basis about my own music, never mind other people's music. So if I don't like something one day, it might change. So I try not to have too many regrets about music that we put out as a label that maybe I'm not so hot on anymore. I generally wouldn't want to sign any music I didn't like as a rule. I think that's a good basis for running a label.
Yeah. What do you think, like, when, for instance, like when Warp decides back when all that indie rock and roll was really fashionable, all of a sudden they put bands like Maximo Park on a roster among stuff like Aphex Twin or Square Pusher. And it's like, oh, okay, that's out of character, but if there's a creativity that you can respect, it doesn't matter the genre, no? How do you feel about that when there's a reference on a label that's just really out of touch, not out of touch, but out of key with the rest of the roster?
I'm totally fine with that. I think the difference is when you're of a certain size, in other words, when you have X amount of employees, I think labels tend to start signing artists to pay the bills.
Yeah.
We're not really that size. But, you know, if you're like 5 times the size of Hyperdub, like Warp or Ninja Tune or these kind of medium, large size independent labels, the bottom line becomes a bit more pressurizing, I'd imagine. Which is why those labels sign a bunch of stuff. I'm like, doesn't really compute with me, but I can see why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah. No, but as you say, and it's not out of greed. It's like I've got 50 employees that I want to take care of, and they got families. Or
Sure. Yeah. I mean, why labels grow to 50 employees is another question.
Yeah.
I think I remember you saying something really fascinating last time we spoke, which is like something on the lines of like, you're very lucky to have someone like Burial on the label on a sort of financial standpoint, because, he sells a lot of records and you don't really have to do anything, I mean, you have to do something, but it's not like a hard sell or whatever.
And he doesn't have to do interviews, no, Bevan.
We're very lucky to have an artist like that. I'm not sure about not having to do anything.
I know, we're kind of insulting.
Yeah, I didn't.
I'd say there's a lot of emotional labor that goes into that relationship.
Yeah.
Ikonika, I wanted to ask. So you, as I said, you signed in like 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's it been like, sort of going from record to record, the sort of Hyperdub records? Like, do they sort of encourage you to change? Is it a case of that, or is it like you deliver the record that's perfect because that's what you want to do? Like,
yeah, I think I've released on the label enough times where I think Steve kind of trusts me, ish. But yeah, I'm always just doing my own thing, and I think if Steve kind of respects that, and feels kind of the vibe that I'm trying to do,
Yeah. Haram, Heavee, both of you mainly live in the US, right? You're in Philadelphia?
Brooklyn. No, I live in Brooklyn.
Oh, you live in Brooklyn?
Since 2020.
What about you, Heavee?
Chicago.
I've always felt that, obviously, the US audiences, niche audiences, do understand like European electronics and some of the cutting edge electronica that you can hear in clubs all over Europe, Berlin, London. But we always have this kind of feeling that in general, America as a whole doesn't get European electronics. But is that a fair thing to say from your experience, from the kind of parties that you play back home?
I feel like I should offer two perspectives. Like, the music that I would hear in my community and like around me, I would agree to some degree. I feel like in the club space, it'll be more open. Like, they're more interested in like the vibe and like how it hit the sound system and how it sounds. So you are able to like introduce sounds, and you will find people that are, willing to dance to it, willing to be interested in it. But like, as far as like, if I was at the lakefront with the crew, or just like something to that effect, it's harder to push like music from other places because it's just the foreign aspect. They don't always want to jump onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's just being honest.
Because sometimes, like for instance, the drum and bass phenomenon, I feel it never ended up taking off in the US like it did in Europe, 20 years ago or whatever. What about now? Because now, young music lovers, they have internet, they don't have to rely on obscure magazines, right? Everyone's kind of listening to the same thing, more or less. Have you seen a positive change in the way young people are reacting to more extreme kind of DJ sets? Not extreme, but, special DJ sets.
I think it is kind of opening up in a sense where like we're seeing a lot of stuff kind of come back at us. Like like I see a lot of stuff on TikTok and Instagram, and they're speeding stuff up, they're mashing stuff up, and it's pushing them into more like experimental spaces. I am hearing way more drum and bass and way more electronic and like way more footwork and like the randomest, smallest cities. Like I was in Minneapolis and we played juke all night. Just like stuff like that. Yeah, it wasn't as common 10 years ago. You wouldn't catch that vibe.
Because I think I heard you first heard drum and bass on the Powerpuff Girls.
So I was like, I'm a unique one. Like I've always kind of been inspired by like the soundtracks that you hear in movies. Like they always chose drum and bass. They always chose like these hard techno songs. And like as a kid, they just stuck with me. So like hearing it anywhere I could, I knew for a fact that I was looking towards like different shit. I didn't want to hear the stuff that was around me. I didn't want to hear my local rap. I didn't want to hear I wanted to hear something else, something different.
Haram, you, I think, are a sound designer as well as DJ and producer. Like, what? I mean, is that for films, TV? What do you mean by like sound design?
I guess I would just say that sound design is like one of the foundations of how I approach making music. Kind of building off what Heavy was saying earlier about the context of sound and making songs or composing music, not necessarily being for consumption, entertainment, happiness, whatever. Sound design is kind of, even if I am using a classic synthesizer, a classic drum machine, the design that goes into it embodies more than just it's emotional, you know? I also use a lot of like found sound. I definitely believe in like my music, if nothing else, is like a personal archive and documentation of like my reality and what I experience and what I go through in my personal history, and maybe in some ways can reflect the times or my community. So I do use like a lot of found sound, and I have my field recorder on me now. Y'all not the only ones with mics.
Have you got any interesting sounds?
On my sound recorder?
Yeah.
All kind. Oh, no, because I just got here today. But when I was in Italy, I went to go get dinner, and it was a really nice echo of an accordion player, like in the middle of this square. So I started recording it, and I forgot to turn it off. And I also captured a waitress being really mean to me. So look, I keep making the joke that I carry around my mic because I'm an op. I'm spying on people, but that's something interesting I got recently. And one noteworthy thing is I made this track one time, and I recorded some just like ambient sound in Morocco, and there was somebody like singing in the background, and in this way my sound design and the beat influenced the rapper who got on it, and he kind of did a similar kind of like town crier yell sing over the beat. So that's kind of a way I feel like sound design is just like the foundation of it, even though you can't really hear it. It was part of like how it was made, and that's where it came from. It came from Morocco.
I have a very stupid question, but I'm dying to ask it. Do you have a favorite sound?
Do I have a favorite sound?
Anyone else who can think of any favorite sounds, feel free. Somebody once said, I like the sound of electricity crackling on the wires, which I thought was quite nice.
I tell you what I used to love as a child. I used to love the garbage truck, picking up garbage late in the evening. That would relax me. And the Hoover. My mother passing the vacuum.
Sound of the washing machine.
Yeah.
I find helps me focus on things. Like a spin cycle.
There was that Matt Moss album, wasn't there, made out of a washing machine?
Yeah.
That's an interesting listen.
Give me a good bubble, a good water
I was
stream,
gonna say
or something,
bubbles.
some bubbling
Yeah,
in my
something a
ears,
bit-
and
And like
that's-
wet as well.
Yes, very wet, like that.
Like water.
Yeah.
Talking of bubbles, sorry, this is an outrageous link, but I wanted to ask about Bubble Up, your EP, Ikonika Anyway, which is a fantastic record.
Very well linked.
A bit recherché, but we'll go for it. Fantastic record. First one, I mean, was it like, am I right in calling it more pop?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely a pop artist in disguise. And it's just pop music, just everyone else just doesn't realize it.
They will.
Yeah, I think eventually, yeah.
And you sung on it. That was the first time you had your vocals, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What took you so long?
I think it just took. So the reason I started doing it is because the studio I was working at had very nice mics, and it was during COVID, and I couldn't get vocalists in. And I had this kind of dream of just being this producer, like this beat maker and this studio rat, and just making beats for other artists. But yeah, and during COVID, to be honest, I just wanted to like make a new palette of like chants or like breaths, or just use my voice in that way, because the studio I was in, we had really nice microphones, and I felt like they were going to waste. But yeah, and then I just, got a little cozy with it.
It's a lovely record.
Thank you.
Steve, so you got your showcase tonight, and then Heavy, you're playing tomorrow. Anything secret tonight? Anything? You're here? I'm not saying anything.
I'm just here with the fam.
Okay.
I'm here to support the fam. That's literally it.
But how did you choose who to perform?
I don't know. I don't know how you would answer that, really. I mean, because I've been like juggling lineups all year to make sure that as many people get as many slots as possible, and trying to get Heavy over to Europe for the first time, and just, there's so many different things that come into these decisions. So I really don't know how to answer that. I mean, I think the curve of the night tonight is really great. Like Nizar, Haram, Aya, Ikonika, me, and then Tim Reaper. It's got the kind of curve of the night that I would want to hear in someone's set or across the whole trajectory of the night. So I suppose there's the artists playing at different tempos that fit at different parts of the night better than others. Live sets, how you slot in live sets. I don't know how I come up with these lineups, but I'm really happy with the lineup tonight anyway.
And have you had a chance to see the stage?
No, I mean, we've got a big dub sound system from what I've heard. Wow. But we literally just got here. We haven't had a chance to walk around or check anything out. I think food is calling after this conversation, so it'll have to be later on when we have a check everything out.
Is it the boiler room? Yeah.
No. It's
warehouse.
It's the warehouse.
It's the warehouse.
Okay.
One of my favorite. When it gets all dark and you can't see anything, and it's one of my
It's going to be
favorite.
very dark.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's nice because it feels like, it's a car park, so it's got that.
Johan, don't say that.
No,
I mean,
but in a
it's
good
true.
way. It's got that kind of concrete
Yeah.
brutalist kind of thing. So the sound is really trapped in there, and they put loads of what do you call the smoke? The dry ice and stuff, and it's not many festivals have their own like little warehouse space, like this,
Right.
and it doesn't feel like an airport, like you were saying, like the other festival.
It feels like an airport car park, which is all about it. And do you feel like 20 years into Hyperdub, is there still a role for like spontaneity in the label? Can you be like, okay, I love this record, I'm putting it out in 2 weeks or whatever, or is it all?
Well, I mean, the spontaneity is very important because we've never done this lineup before. We've never done any of the lineups that we've had this year before. Like, they're all one-offs. In terms of putting out just the odd track randomly, I don't know. I think one thing I've learned over the years, it's important to work with people that you get on with and are interesting, as opposed to just putting out music that you like by people who are annoying as hell. So I'm less open to just put out music that grabbed my ear.
Have you noticed, I mean, I'm amazed at how the influence of a lot of Hyperdub's artists or Hyperdub's releases has seeped into sort of pop music. Like, we hear a lot of young people making music with their laptops and stuff, and they're going for what Burial did with the sort of sounds in the background, the scratches, the kind of atmospherics. and they're taking it into sort of in a pop direction. Do you hear that? Do you hear that influence? Does it overwhelm you?
To my ears, there's a genre called stadium burial,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to name names, but there's definitely a kind of strata of the dance music, the bigger dance music world is just literally stadium burial. Like cleaned up, beefed up, better production technically, but a bit dry ultimately.
Yeah.
I think we all know who they are.
I've
all got, you know.
Yeah, I won't
There's
say.
lots of them out there.
I know.
Stadium burial. I like it.
I know you got to go soon because you haven't eaten yet and you've only just arrived. But I'd really like to ask every one of you, like, not your favorite Hyperdub record because that wouldn't be fair, but like a kind of Hyperdub record that has really impacted you in some way. Anyone?
Can I go?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Burial, but I'm going to say South London Boroughs. That one is just, like, sometimes I still play it. Like, it's always on a USB stick. Just a rah, 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 nah, nah, nah. Roll.
I mean, that's an amazing release. I'm probably going to say Sam I Am, the Return EP, just because it's so completely different from everything else that we released. It's kind of instrumental hip hop, really weird synths, off tune. I really love how off tune it was.
Heavy? Oh no, sorry. Tara, pick up. Please go.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. It's kind of hard to pick, but I gotta go and support the new gen, the young class. And I have to say Nazar and his last full length because there are so many that I love and I couldn't really compare, especially as a DJ. I get the chance to play 60 minutes of my favorite songs all the time. Obviously, when I first met Kode and stuff, I was so impressed by DJ Rashad and all the iconic Tech Life music that they had put out, because that's what I had the most personal influence by. But I would say Nazar, I really appreciate as a peer, somebody who, has a, similar to Footwork, a regional, global dance music influence, but also it is not in the box of commercialism. It's like very harsh and speaking about colonialism, but also being very like cathartic. And I felt like amongst Footwork, a really good peer. And also Fatima Al-Qadiri, I gotta say. Felt really like, I felt welcomed. And especially with 700 Bliss being so harsh as well.
Heavy?
I would say some of, I've always been like a huge fan of Scratcher. Like,
Yeah.
He pushed the envelope for me. He make me want to go to the studio and make something. I liked his drum track series, but even before that, but yeah, he really, I feel like he put a spotlight on the sound, like when he did that. I would really say that moment in time gave me something.
I can hear the scratcher on your album.
We go back and forth secretly in DM, and we was sending shit back and forth for some years. It just kind of slowed down, and it's time to kick that right back up. But yeah, definitely Scratcher. That's my boy.
There's so many.
Yeah, we could keep going.
Well, do you know what I reckon? I don't know. There's so many, but I was just thinking of Cooley G, Love Dub. That's such a great tune.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally so many of them, to be honest. It's, Cooley G, Narst.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we'll be hearing some of them tonight. It's from
Rashad, I don't give a fuck.
Period.
tonight from 10 until...
Early start. Good. 10.
Yeah, then late finish.
But late finish, yeah.
5, yeah. Thank you so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure. And anyone who wants some brilliant electronic music of all kinds, tonight, 10 o'clock, in the car park, disguised car park that is...
The warehouse.
The warehouse, yeah. But now you've said it.
That's my fault. It's the warehouse. Hyperdub, All Stars. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.